That's the sign. So, first breaking up with ourselves, and then breaking up with our families. And we were just having a conversation right now about, someone asking me, this family stuff is really hard. And it is challenging, because the family really represents our definition of love. And it's installed, our definition of love is installed into us through the family experience. And once that definition of love, by the time we're 7 years old, that definition of love is firmly installed. That is our definition of love. In other words, unless I receive the feeling that was installed into my emotional body, unless I receive that feeling, I don't feel loved. It's very powerful, because if you go to someone who's actually being physically abused by their companion, and you say, "Why don't you leave?" they will more than likely say, "Because they love me. They really do love me. I know that this is terrible that's going on, but they really do love me." And what's really being communicated there is, but this really is my definition of love. The feeling I have after being physically abused is the same feeling tattooed into my emotional body as a child. And my child identifies that as what love is. So this is the power of the child. When we're told the child is created in the image of God, it means that it is really the causal point of the quality of our experience. The condition of the child is the condition of the adult experience. And while the child gets to run the show unconsciously to us based on that definition, then it doesn't matter if we believe that love is wine and roses and being on our best behavior with each other and all of that. Because yes, we will be attracted to somebody. Intimacy, the romantic intimacy will arise in our experience, and we'll be attracted to that person because that experiencing love with another is so profound and so beautiful that we'll be attracted to it. But how we approach it and what we turn it into is another matter altogether. So it's there, it comes to us, and then we will approach it according to a certain program definition, and we will turn it into something according to imprinting. What we will turn it into is determined by the imprinting of our first 7 years. And that's why, you can get divorced once a year, if you like. And it'll be like déjà vu. Right? Because you'll end up with the same person over and over again. And who you're ending up with is your parents anyway. We all marry our parents. In other words, we marry someone who then we expect to fulfill our needs and wants. And the person who fulfills the needs and wants becomes the parent who wants to sleep with their parents. So, that's kind of, intimacy is gone. It's not so sexy being in bed with your parents, right? Because that's eventually what happens. And that's because the child takes over and turns the lover into mommy and daddy. The lover has a different role to play than mommy and daddy. The lover is about realizing love. Who am I with to enable me to realize love as part of that journey? Because this entire journey is about realizing what love is. Realizing it, being able to perceive it as it truly is. Not what we've defined it as, not what we think it is. Not the arrangements we've made to try and control it. But what is it really? What is it really? And so the two things that are going on, I meet someone, there is a moment in which love surfaces, and it's really beautiful. And immediately my mental body takes hold of it and manipulates it in some way, right? And so there's the program that's installed in us on how we approach that experience. The moment it comes up, we're programmed as how to approach that experience. So if I encounter someone and in that experience of love starts to show itself, then straight away I started to intimidate that person. We call it dating, but it's actually intimidating. And I'll find all sorts of ways to intimidate them, right? Take them to special places, whatever, until I can get them to do what I want them to do, right? And then eventually, we'll get married. That's the destination point. For women, it's a destination, right? From the time you're young, that's the destination. If I can just get there, everything's going to be taken care of, right? If I don't get there, something's wrong with me. It's such a powerful program. So we intimidate each other until we get married, and then what do? We call it, we sleep together. In other words, we put each other to sleep. Right? We move into the same bed. It's fatal. Because I haven't even yet gained a sense of my own energy system and how I am with myself. And now I'm in bed with your emotional imprint. Every night. Every night. And I don't get any rest. It's very hard to rest and rejuvenate when you're lying in someone else's emotional imprint. Right? So we've tried to compensate. We invented golf. Right? Because the intimacy goes out of the picture at home, right? So I'll go and play with the hole out there in the fields, right? And anyway, it's a way I can get some space. I just need some space, right? Because I don't have an awareness of my own. I don't have any space within myself. So the moment I'm forced into the same room as somebody else, I mean, that's a nightmare. I have to go to sleep and wake up with you every day. Freaks me out. Then someone takes over the bedroom, and eventually I don't even know where I am because I see no point of reference for myself in this room anymore, right? And then it really gets uncomfortable because the best behavior goes away, the inauthentic behavior, and the authentic behavior comes up. And the authentic behavior is related to my emotional imprint, my neediness, my wantingness. The way that I manipulate myself is the way I'm going to manipulate you, right? And I don't know that's going on, so instead of taking care of, because when we say, I've found the person to make me happy, if I can just be with this person, I'll be happy. If I can just be with the person, I'll be happy. But marriage isn't about I'll be with you, it's about let's do something here. That's why we stand up at the altar and go, I do. right? We don't say I be. None of that going on, right? All the stuff we will do together. And when it becomes very uncomfortable, we just start doing more stuff, right? It's not really working. Let's have a child. See if that'll work, right? Let's get a bigger house. Let's move over there. Until eventually none of it's working. And then we throw it out the window and go and do it with somebody else, right? And that's again wandering around in the wilderness. And because that emotional signature implanted at childhood is going to come up, and I'm going to manipulate the experience I'm in with you until the outcome is that I feel that way. And if my experience as a child was that I was abandoned, then you can be sure that even if love comes knocking at the door, I will distort it into the experience of abandonment by the time I'm done with it. And I will not cease until I've been abandoned. And at least I'll have felt something, because that's pretty much the only thing I know how to feel, really. Right? That's real to the child. Because the child is going to follow by example. Whatever example is set for it for love, that becomes the example. And so we all go through that experience. It's powerful. We are programmed from day one about what love is to us, according to the behavior of our parents and our family, and how to approach it according to the behavior of our society. And it's very powerful programming. We just go into automatic pilot. We say that. You know, when someone falls in love, literally they fall, because it's falling in love, right? But we go mad. You have seen it in yourself and other people. You go mad, right? It's like a madness that takes over. So, and you can't say to a person, don't marry them. And they go, no, I've got to get married. Got to get married. This is it. This is it. Right? And this idea that this person can make me happy, there is a truth there. There is a truth, because if I allow that person to be a mirror for me, so that I may see things about myself that otherwise would not come out to play. It doesn't come out to play around my parents so much. It doesn't come out to play around my friends. But when I'm that much connected with another human being, those things come out to play. The only problem is I see them as the other person. I don't see them in myself. But if I'm able to look at that and see it, take responsibility for it, and resolve it within myself through the alchemy work, yes, then being with that person is going to make me very happy. It's not really even happy, it's just going to open me up. Right? So that program, that structure has to be dismantled. The marriage as we know it to be today in this world is a structure manufactured out of fear, anger, and grief. And it serves other structures that are manufactured out of fear, anger, and grief. In other words, marriage serves religion, it serves politics, and it serves commerce. It's very useful on those levels. It's a billion-dollar industry. Right? It's a billion-dollar industry. But it doesn't serve intimacy. It doesn't serve intimacy. And there's a different level of the journey when we get into the alchemy work, is that being with another becomes about intimacy. And it's not into you see, it's into me see. Right? Into me and see. And what that is about. And if you're in a situation in which the other person is not on the alchemy journey, well, that's your cross to bear. You can run away from it, but you'll just manifest it wherever you go. Because remember that wherever we are right now, that's what's required. It's not necessarily what we need and want. But the reality is, wherever I am right now in my life, it's what I require. If I don't have anyone in my life right now, that's what I require. Going looking for someone, enlisting on eharmony.com and going to find someone. If you try and find someone to be with, you're only going to look for your emotional imprint. You're going to hunt for your own emotional imprint and go, okay, there it is there. I'll be with that person there. That's my imprint. Because that's what will attract me. So it's not about the intimacy work. Is we're very blessed if we are with someone who is an alchemist. But it's not necessarily going to be the case. That's very rare right now in this world. It's more likely that we wake up to our alchemical role on the planet and our companion is still fast asleep and not interested, wouldn't read these books, wouldn't have these conversations. It's quite likely that that's the situation. But that's all right, because it's never about the other person anyway. The old paradigm of relationship, it's always about you. It's about the other person. In the new paradigm of being together as part of the alchemical journey, it's really about what's going on within me. And also, it's unlikely that I'm going to awaken next to someone who's in the alchemical state of awareness when I haven't really even done the work with myself yet, and I haven't definitely even approached my family situation. Because if I think that I can be with my family, birth family, and I'm not yet even comfortable being with myself, it's not possible. And if I think I can be with one other human being, and I'm not even yet comfortable being in my family, and then if I think I can really be with what God is, and I can't yet get on with one human being, so there's a progression to this, a natural unfolding. And that's why it's very important to be where we are and to realize that where we are is what's required. And yes, you may want to be with somebody else. And if you're alone, you may want to be with somebody. Right? But be aware that if we begin to look for someone to do intimacy work with, that's the emotional signature talking. That's not the heart. Because the person, if you're alone at this moment in your life, the intimacy partner will be given, will be brought. And if you're with someone who's not interested in this work, then that's the work for you right now. Because it's quite likely you're married to one of your parents. Right? And so that family work still needs to be taken care of. And all of that. And do not underestimate the power of alchemy. It knows no order of difficulty. As long as we tend to what's unfolding in our life right now and not try and wish our way out of it and get into some other experience. Wherever we are right now, that's what's required. It's very important we be with that. Which is hard for us to accept because the child wants sweets and stuff. It wants mommy and daddy. It wants somebody else to take care of me. Whenever I'm looking for somebody, my behavior that drives me into looking for someone, I'm looking for mommy and daddy. Yeah. That's all it is. It's the child in me looking for mommy and daddy. And the thing is, it's my job to be mommy and daddy to myself. We are made in the image. Everyone is made in the image. In other words, everyone contains within them the father, the mother, the brother, and the sister. We all contain within us the vibrational, the physical, the emotional, the mental. It's all within us. And it's very important that we we'll do that family work that enables us to mature those attributes and to bring them into full integration. And then as part of that task, we may enter that work consciously with another human being. And that's a different level of the work. Just like the family work is about realigning the father, mother, sister, and brother frequencies within ourselves. And really working with that definition, unconscious definition of love as installed in the family. There is a much deeper thing going on here in this world that we get to in the intimacy work. And that's dealing directly with the manipulation. The manipulation of the emotional body by the mental body. The mental body pursues the emotional body, sedates and controls it, and manipulates it into getting what it needs and wants, what it thinks it needs and wants, and what it's entitled to. Right? It's an entitlement behavior. I'm married to you, I'm entitled to have you behave a certain way. This marriage entitles me. All of that nonsense comes out of manipulation. Doing the intimacy work with another human being is about discovering what does it mean to be a man in the world, or what does it mean to be a woman in the world? What does it really mean? Where are our archetypes? Because we've got all sorts of religious archetypes, and they will show us how out of balance we are. We go to the mental body to save us. Jesus is a representative of the mental body, and that's our savior. We go to the mental, and we go to the physical world, physical body to help us out, right? We go to Mother Mary. Mother Mary is the physical. What about the emotional? What about the emotional? We call the emotional a prostitute. We prostitute the emotional. We silence it and sedate it. And yet the emotional is the causal point of the quality of our experience. The reason why we're having such a messed up experience on this planet as a reflection is because women have been chained to being prostitutes and breeders. Look at the planet and how things are run, right? How many women are used to sell products? You have to sell yourself, or you're a breeder. But what is a woman really? And what is a man? What do these things mean? But we can't comprehend that because the man and the woman in the intimacy relationship, or even the man and the man and the woman, because it's not about the genitals. Intimacy has got nothing to do with genitals. When two people come together that love each other, they're automatically going to play a mental, emotional body relationship with each other. Automatically. One is going to play the emotional, one is going to play the mental. One is going to pursue, and one is going to sedate. Let's have sex now, honey. No, I've got a headache. And what happens is the mental body pursues the emotional body. And so seeing that in ourselves, how am I manipulating my own emotional body? Because my own emotional body is that feminine essence. My mental body is that masculine essence. How are they out of balance with each other? Am I invalidating my experience and trying to have another one other than I'm having? Because if that is going on, then when I'm in an intimate relationship with you, I'm going to be doing the same thing to you. And when love arises, I will find a way to sedate it, to control it, to trap it, to cage it. It's just natural when the mental body. And so the first step is the surrender of the mental body. The surrender of the mental body. And allowing the emotional body to become the causal point. And what does that look like in my own experience? First of all, I have to accept that whatever's going on in my emotional body is valid. And I have to stop messing with it in my own experience. And start to feel its discomfort and its pain. And allow that to be there. And allow that to come to a point of resolution. Because when we come together through the program, through the imprint, we're leaning over. We're leaning over and we're looking for someone to lean upon. We walk through the world like this. If we weren't all walking through the world like this, there would be no harmony.com or match.com, or those things come out of people leaning over. I'm leaning over. I've got to have someone to lean on. Otherwise, I'm not. You complete me. Where are you? You've got to complete me, right? And what happens is we find someone leaning in the equal opposite direction, and we lean on them and we go, oh, I feel so good. I feel better now. You want to marry me? Right? But it's not about leaning on anybody. What we want to lean upon is the vibrational within us. And the intimacy journey with someone is a walk into that experience. The intimacy journey is when we stand like that together. There's no leaning. But in order for that to happen, we all start leaning on another heavily. You fulfill my needs and wants. And so when we stop when we stop manipulating our own emotional body and allow it to be, metaphorically, it's like standing next to someone and stepping back so that we can fall over. And the very first step in an intimacy with another is about falling over and picking myself up, learning to pick myself up, learning emotionally to be my support. I'm not with you to support me emotionally, to make me feel good about being alive. That's not why I'm with you. I have to be that for myself, right? And in as much as I authentically am able to stand on my own 2 feet, I will start to have someone around me who will reflect that. It becomes like a prayer. And the prayer is to allow the emotional body to open. All that lens that has all those imprinted signatures on them, those distortions of the vibrational, to be released so that the emotional body opens. Because as soon as the emotional body opens, the vibrational will come moving through as it truly is. As it truly is. And that will bless the mental and the physical. And that will bless the mental and the physical. In other words, it becomes like this. The experience of two being together is about becoming the chalice that the vibrational can be poured through. And then it will pour through into the mental and bless the physical circumstances of the world. And then, once that experience starts happening, the real challenge comes about. Because the instinct is to shut it down, is to control it, is to sedate it, and to overcome, and to keep it open. And for many who enter the intimacy experience, it's not going to turn out the way you think it is. It's not about, we are going to be together, happy ever after, that's good. Sorted. I found a way to get you to stay with me all the time. It's more likely that as we open, there will be more and more space. And the people that I'm meeting along the way, in which two people have actually consciously said, let's make this about intimacy. This is not about me fulfilling my needs and wants. This is about intimacy. When two people declare that to each other, because it's a very important, if you're with someone and you consciously want to explore intimacy with them and they're open to it, that you declare that that's what you're up to. And once that declaration is made, everything that's not about intimacy is going to show up and rattle around and make itself obvious. It'll become obvious where, you're just my orgasmobile. Right? Where I'm manipulating you for my pleasure. Because it's very hard for us to see energetically, right? But if I force myself on somebody so that I can have an orgasm, that would be called rape. And I can be put away in jail for that. In some countries, we can both be killed for it, right? But if I intimidate you, and then eventually buy you a big ring, offer you a nice house and everything, so that I can have an orgasm, right? And what is the orgasm but the destination? You see, the whole of life is sex. We're just picking our orgasm. My orgasm may be $50,000 a month. My orgasm might be to be CEO of this corporation. But I'm going to manipulate the circumstances of being in this world until I get it. Whatever it is, whatever that destination is that I believe will give me what I need and want, so everything will be all right. And that destination point is what's making life so miserable for us. Because there is no destination. There is no destination that we can comprehend. It really is forever and ever and ever. Amen. And the mental body goes, but what do you mean like forever and ever? Why is there two evers there? I mean, how long will it take? Right? And that's really what the old metaphysical concept of enlightenment is. Enlightenment is a destination where there will be fireworks, there will be, a whole lighting show. I will know everything, and I'll be grinning happily ever after. But there is no such place. It's forever and ever. And so when we come together and do intimacy work, one of the most profound aspects of this work is we assist each other to see as mirrors very clearly where we are manipulating our experience in order to arrive at a destination. And then we remove the destination, and then we feel the emotional signature that drove us towards that, having to have that destination. And as that emotional signature comes up, we be with that and allow that to integrate until there is just an opening. It's open. And then we endeavor not to close it again. And in my experience, what that looks like is we need space between us. It's like opening a wormhole. It's like opening a portal. And one stands on the one side and one stands on the other and brings in something else. Brings in what love really is, that vibration. But if it becomes personal, like this is what I need you to be with me. Once it becomes that closes. Because it's not personal. It's not personal. And it's through that portal that love enters the world. Because when children come into this world, we imprint them with a definition of love. And they imprint their children with a definition of love. And it's that definition of love that causes us so much discomfort. And so the intent along the way for us is to be able to first clear the emotional body with somebody, and then, if it's what's required, the children come through, no imprinting. Children with no imprinting. No obstruction in the emotional body to the vibrational. It's called a divine conception. Right, so when Jesus is born, right, we think that Joseph was in the back on his hobby while it happened. He wasn't even at the conception, right? No, that's not what a divine conception is. That's a physical, mental interpretation. What a divine conception is when two beings give birth to a child and have done so much intimacy work with each other that there is no imprinting on the child. The child remains open. That's powerful stuff. It doesn't say less about who he was, but it says something about his parents. And the amount of work that they had to do, intimacy work, to open that portal so that love could come through and come without definition, without condition, without imprinting. I mean, if you think that Jesus was born in the stable because there wasn't room in the inn, give me a break. But when you're bringing a child in, the last thing you want is that child to be around drunk people in the inn. You'd rather have it be around animals that are present, that are not going to imprint it. You know what you're doing. Keep it away from all of that. Keep it surrounded by presence. A donkey has a way more presence than most human beings. That's the truth. A donkey's got presence. It's right here. Right? It's not like, well, what does it mean? Right? So the purpose of intimacy is not, in fact, when we really explore intimacy, be prepared for the dismantling of the relationship. For the dismantling of the structure in the relationship. Because once that opening is between the two of you, whoever you experience that with, once that opening is there, it can never be closed unless you try and turn it into something it's not. And it doesn't matter even if you're not together again and you walk into a different place on the planet. That is open. It's now open. And what pours through that opening is profound for both of you. The vibrational pours through. And as long as you stay open to each other once you've done the work, that opening is there, that portal is there. But the moment it becomes about something else, it'll close. So not everyone is going to enter that level of the work. It's not necessary for everyone. But those of you that find yourself in that journey, remember, it's not going to turn out the way you think it is. It's going to dismantle all the structures made out of the fear, anger, and grief, out of the insecurity, out of the neediness and wanting. There's the structures that are used to control the future. Right? And part of the journey is going to be finding out where we are doing stuff together because we can't be together. And all that doing has to go. And it's a profound journey, that level of the work. And you don't have to look for it. It will come to you if it's required. If it's required. The most important thing is to be where you are now. And if you're with a companion who has no sort of alchemical aspirations, there's going to be a feeling there. Be with that emotional signature. That is a gift. Everyone who brings us an emotional signature is bringing us a gift. It doesn't matter in what form it comes, whether it comes through the family, through my boss at work, through my companion at home. All those emotional signatures are gifts, nutrition. So that is, once that level of the work is entered and participated in consciously, it really opens us up to a point that we can start receiving the vibrational nutrition. The vibrational nutrition. And we all receive it anyway directly. We all receive it anyway directly. I was saying last night that we're told you can't live on bread and bread alone. And then we're told, pray for your daily bread. It's kind of confusing. And we're also told, you know, the lilies are taken care of. And the birds, like, they don't seem to have a problem. What's your problem, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's hard for us to comprehend it because we don't really get what that's about. Because it's very difficult to receive the vibrational food when we need and want something. Because the vibrational food is not to feed our needs and wants. It's not the sweets. It's the broccoli and the cabbage. Right? It's vibrations given to us to sustain our being in this world, and to give us insight and revelation about our journey. In fact, we were talking about the Israelites who were lost in the wilderness, right? Wandering around, moseying around, right? Can't find their way out, lost in the wilderness. And that's really a metaphor for being a doer. A doer is one who's lost in the universe, lost completely, in a state of hypnosis. You know, this is a teapot, that's a cookie jar, this is a, right? And I'm just trying to get what I need and want. And I try and do it through my stories and my doings, and it always leads me back to the same place, the same place, the same place. To start resolving that sort of behavior is about integrating those core emotional signatures. And when we start being with those core emotional signatures, we reawaken felt perception by feeling. And once we start to awaken felt perception, we're going to be able to feel even more subtle resonances. And those resonances are not emotional signatures from imprints, but they are also high strangeness. In other words, they are not familiar to us and often not uncomfortable. So, what happened to the dudes who were lost in the desert was that manna rained from heaven, right? And they ate the manna and suddenly, oh, I know the way out, right? They found their way out. Because of the manna, right? Their manna. The manna from heaven. There's a manna of the world and there's the manna of heaven. And the manna of the world is very much about the physical, mental aspect of our experience. And it's very important to digest those things because that enables us to be physically in the world. But the manna of heaven is something very different. The manna of heaven is related to being without condition. Being in that manna. Right? That's a manna. When we wake up in the morning, every one of us, and it's different days, but when we wake up in the morning, once we start to develop our felt perception, and even now we can feel it if we pay attention to it and aware of it. When we wake up in the morning, there are certain feelings that are already there. It's like breakfast is served. And they're not usually feelings related to our emotional signature. They're not that type of feeling. They have a more subtle resonance to them, but they are what we may initially perceive as unfamiliar. They're usually always unfamiliar because they're new to us, and they may sometimes be uncomfortable. But they're just, we wake up and we feel a certain way, right? It's not like the silly postopedic ad where you wake up and right? Wake up and you feel a certain way. If you pay attention in the first hour or so, there's feelings there. And that is vibrational. That's the vibrational food. That's breakfast. And everyone receives it every day. Every day we're given it. And most of us spit it out. And by spitting it out, we tell a story about what we think it's about, and then we enter a behavior out of that story, neither of which have anything to do with it. These are vibrations entering our experience to enliven our day, to enliven our state of being, right? And instead, instead of rejecting them, analyzing them, just be with them without condition. Digest them. Digest them. Allow yourself to be with it. Don't analyze it. And see what happens. You know, when a child keeps spitting out its food, it gets into a state of weakness in which it becomes confused, physically weak, right? But the moment that child starts to digest its food, immediately it starts to feel stronger. There'll be a clarity emotionally. With us, we're being given food every day. This is not the emotional signature food. This is our daily bread. And every one of us receive it every day. Every one of us. There is not one of us. The birds get it. The plants get it. You get it. No one is given without. And it comes from the vibrational. And we can't see it with our eyes, physical eyes, nor can we understand anything about it with our mentality. But we can feel it. If you wake up in the morning and just feel, you will feel feelings in your being that are kind of strange and uncomfortable. They're just there. And if you tell your story, you might tell yourself a story. You might say, well, I feel a little sad today, or I feel strange. I probably didn't sleep very well. Whatever story we tell. But don't even go there. Just allow yourself to feel it and be with it and watch how it digests. It passes on and digests. And when it's digested and you move through your day, notice the level of synchronicity. How what is required is given. You even just put a thought to that, a feeling to, it's there, boom. You walk into people and they hand you what you thought you had to look for, right? Because when we digest our daily bread, we receive what we require. Not only that, but insight and revelation about the day, about my journey on the level of my legend, on how I'm approaching my legend. All of that is coming out of that food. That's the vibrational food. That has its own nutrition. And the moment we start digesting that consciously, there is a certain part of our being that receives sustenance, and that we've been trying to get that from books, from practices, from other people, but it can't. That's God's nipple. Right? And when we receive that, there'll be less manipulation to try and get it from somewhere else. That's our daily bread. Before we go to the break, there is something that I'll share with you that you can use and which will assist you very quickly to enliven your state of being in the world. Make that transition from doing to being. These emotional signatures, if you look across your life and you just sit still and look across the horizon of your life experience, you will notice that there are all these emotional signatures around, related maybe to my companion, to my family, to my work, they're scattered around there. They're not there when I'm not paying attention to them. And they usually show up as upsets unconsciously, but they're always there. If I allow myself, what has upset me in life? What has not been resolved in my life? Especially, what is it that I don't know what to do about? That's the key. The key is, what is it that I do not know what to do about? I just don't know what to do about that. I've tried everything and I don't know what to do. That is the point of awakening into being, to enlivening our being. And each one of those, if you put your attention on it, it's like a note in a piece of music. You feel it. It feels a certain way and you can listen to it the same way you listen to a song on the radio, but you listen with your feeling and you don't mess with it, you just listen to it. It's there. And when you feel it, you can also feel it in your physical being somewhere. It reverberates physically. Whatever it is, it's a note in a piece of music, and it's a note in a piece of music we don't want to listen to. That's it. I don't want to listen to that note. I want to feel good, right? All that's required, you take 10 of those, because it's quite easy to find 10 of them. Just sit for a moment, make a list, my top 10 hits, right? Top 10 notes. And you just put one word for each one, because it's not about the story. Do not go into the story. It's not about the physical circumstance. We just want to locate the note in that piece of music. And every day, this is a not doing, right? An undoing, a bridge from doing to being. Simply a bridge that crosses over. I suggest that you apply this for 40 days, because it takes 40 days to get out of the wilderness, right? And every day you take out your list and you just look at it. And you will notice that certain of those notes are more prominent than others. They just, because they're closer to the surface. Call it up. Where do I feel that? Okay, mother. All right. All right. And I feel that. What's the signature? Okay, let go of the story. Be with it. Just be with it. Cradle it. And spend no more than 15 minutes every day with a couple of those things. No more than 15 minutes, because otherwise you're going to start doing something. Right? It's undoing. But the key is consistency. Consistency. Because what's going to happen is our doings have results, and our results are based on whether we feel better or not. Doings always have results, but being without condition has consequences. And consequences are things that we can do nothing about are brought to resolution. And what will become undeniable is that after a period, you're going to start seeing things happen around in your life that you're not doing anything about. You're not doing anything to make it happen. You happen to bump into this person, that person phones, this thing happens. Things happen outwardly that appear to come together synchronistically to resolve these things. They come to a point of resolution. And you never did anything. You were just being without condition at the causal point of them. And you will begin to realize, because the experience is the most important thing. Remember, the mental body has no point of reference for being. No point of reference whatsoever. It has no value for it. If you stay in the mental, you will never try out being without condition. But if you sit with these signatures, the top 10 every day, and be with that consistently, you will start to see how resolution comes about, and you won't be able to deny. At some point it becomes undeniable. This is unfolding because, not because I'm doing, not because I'm trying to think my way out of it. I've stopped that. With this, I'm just being at the causal point of the signature. And that enlivens the state of being. In other words, when you realize that experientially, when you get into circumstances that are uncomfortable and you're going to start figuring out, what do I do? You will very quickly back away from the doing, back away from the story, and enter being without condition at the causal point of that. You will know that that way you will receive what you require. You will receive what you require to bring about resolution. And it's the same with the daily bread. As soon as you start to identify your daily bread, and the daily bread is received different times of the day, but often there's a really good breakfast. Yum yum, right? And then if you have a big event during the day, you will get an extra dose. Because that event, you really need to be there. You really need to enliven yourself. So whenever, for example, I'm about to give a presentation, I pay very careful attention to that day or the day or two before I approach the presentation. Because I'm going to get food for that. I've got to make sure I have physical food for the body, mental food for the mental body, emotional food. I'm going to get some stuff, believe me, right? But I'm also going to get vibrational food. And as I approach the presentation, I'm going to have feelings that I don't recognize. They're not even emotional signatures. They're just feelings I do not recognize. Because there's a saying, I go before you to prepare a place for you. I go before you to prepare a place for you. And what that means is, I know about the event you're going into, And I'm going to give you the vitamin and minerals now to nourish you so that when you arrive in that event, your state of being has been enlivened, that you can really be there. So we get nutrition for an unknown event, and therefore the nutrition itself is unrecognizable to us. It comes from the unknown for the unknown. It's never going to be familiar. Often it's going to feel slightly uncomfortable or strange. But just digest it and watch the consequences. And that's the manna of heaven. That truly is the manna of heaven. Eat it up, yum yum. It'll lead you out of the wilderness by showing you without a doubt that being without condition is the most powerful resonance you can bring to bear on any aspect of your experience. But we have to show this to ourselves experientially, because there is no point of reference in the world for this. And this is the paradigm, this is what we're being invited to step into and realize. That everything that we require is given. It really is given. It's just now about recognizing it and digesting it, containing it and digesting it, rather than spitting it out because we need and want something else. Right? So the top 10 list will help begin neutralizing those energetic, uncomfortable energetic points that drive us into doing. And the manna from heaven quickly enlivens a state of being and also brings with it the gift of revelation. Reveals to me what my unfolding journey is, way beyond having to earn a living. There is something far greater going on here for all of us. And we're being invited into it. We're being invited into it, right? So let's take a 15-minute break. We'll come back and do some questions and answers for those of you that have some questions. And all right, let's take a break.
Mm-hmm.